We all have goals, big ones, small ones, goals that could totally change our lives. But how often do they just, well, fizzle out? We start off with all this energy, but then life, it just gets in the way. In this explainer, we're going to break down a really powerful way to turn those goals into reality. And it's not by working harder, but by working smarter, with the one thing that always seems to derail us: uncertainty.
So let's just start with that big question right there. Why do so many of our plans fail? I mean, really think about it. That New Year's resolution to get in shape, the plan to finally get that promotion, the dream of learning a new language, way too often they just kind of fade away. What's actually going on there?
The usual answer is, oh, I just didn't have enough willpower. But what if that's not it at all? What if the real culprit is that we fail to manage uncertainty? Now, that is a huge shift in thinking, because unlike willpower, which can feel kind of flaky, managing uncertainty, that's a skill you can learn. It's a system you can actually build. Okay, so here's our game plan. We'll kick things off with that classic struggle between our goals and reality. Then we'll introduce a totally new way to plan for things. After that, we'll walk through a super practical 5-step playbook, explore where all this uncertainty actually comes from, and then wrap up with how you can start managing your own future, like right now.
All right, first step, goals versus reality. This is where we get real about that gap between what we want to do and, well, what actually ends up happening.
I bet a lot of these look pretty familiar, right? Whether it's something super specific, like getting that promotion, or maybe something a little more abstract, like just wanting to be happy and healthy. These are the kinds of ambitions that drive us. We've all got them.
And we set these amazing, crystal clear objectives. We're fired up, we're ready to go. But then, life happens. A surprise project lands on your desk, there's a family emergency, or maybe an opportunity you never saw coming pops up. That straight line we imagined from point A to point B suddenly looks more like a tangled mess of spaghetti. So how in the world are we supposed to plan for a future when life happens is pretty much guaranteed? Well, this is where we're going to bring in a really powerful idea from the business world and apply it to our own lives. It's called personal risk management. And trust me, it's a whole new way to think about planning.
First things first, we gotta be clear on what risk actually means. It sounds kind of scary, but it's not. According to risk expert Dr. David Hilson, it's just any uncertainty which, if it occurs, will have an effect on your objectives. The keywords there, any uncertainty and effect. This isn't just about bad stuff happening.
And that means risk is totally neutral. It's both the threats that could derail you, the roadblocks, and the opportunities that could give you a huge boost, those lucky breaks. Both are just uncertainties that can change your journey. Real risk management is all about planning for both.
Okay, so understanding risk is step one, but managing it is where the magic happens. So let's get practical and dive into the 5-step risk playbook. This is your framework for success.
The real power of this process is just how simple it is. First, you define your goal. Get super clear on it. Second, you identify all the uncertainties, the good and the bad. Third, you assess which ones actually matter the most. Fourth, you create a response plan. And finally, number 5, you monitor how things are going and you adapt. It's a loop. Now, to see how this works in the real world, let's use a goal I think a lot of us can relate to: getting a promotion within the next 12 months. Our objective is defined, so we can jump right into step 2. So this is the fun part, where you just brainstorm everything that could happen on both sides of the coin. A threat could be that a huge new project lands on your desk and just sucks up all your time. But hey, an opportunity could be that a brand new, high-profile role opens up completely unexpectedly. You got to think about the downside and the upside. So once you have your list, it's time to prioritize. A really simple way to do this is to just ask 2 questions for each item. First, what's the probability of it happening? Is it high, medium, or low? And second, what's the impact if it does happen? The things that are both high probability and high impact, that's where you want to focus your energy first. And once you know what to focus on, you make a plan. So for a threat like signing up for a bad training course, your response is to do a ton of research before you enroll. Simple. For an opportunity, like a new internal role, your response might be to talk to your boss now, just to get on their radar. See? It's all about being proactive instead of reactive. Okay, so we've got a process. But to get really good at spotting these risks in the first place, it helps to know where they even come from.
And that brings us to the main sources of all this uncertainty. It pretty much boils down to two big areas, internal and external. The internal source, that's you. It's your motivation, your biases, your skills. Let's be honest, sometimes we are our own worst enemy, right? And then the external source is, well, your world, your family, your job, your community, all of it.
And that brings to mind this very famous quote from John Donne, which really speaks to the power of that external world. It says, "No man is an island." And it's so true. We just don't exist in a vacuum. We are constantly being influenced by the people, the systems, and the cultures all around us. Our families, our workplaces, our societies, they all create this steady stream of both threats and opportunities that affect our personal goals.
You can actually visualize these influences with a concept called propinquity. It's a fancy-sounding word, but it just means closeness. Think of it like spheres of influence radiating out from you, right there at the center. And here's the key takeaway. The closest someone or something is to you, the more powerful its influence is. So your family, for example, is going to have a much stronger effect on your goals than, say, your national culture. And understanding this helps you focus on where the biggest risks and opportunities are probably hiding.
All right, let's bring all this home. We've covered the why and the how. Now let's talk about what you can do to actually start managing your future starting today. Here it is, your personal starter kit. First, get super specific about your goals. Then, brainstorm everything that could possibly happen, the good, the bad, and the ugly. Remember to look for risks both inside yourself and out in the world. Then, make a simple plan for the big ones. And maybe most importantly, keep reviewing and adapting as you go. This is not a set it and forget it kind of thing. So I want to leave you with a question. Pick your single most important goal right now. What is the one uncertainty, whether it's a threat or an opportunity, that you can start managing today? Because at the end of the day, achieving your goals isn't about trying to avoid uncertainty, it's about mastering it.